Right. Yeah, I love that. And I think we as Americans are spoiled because we've
Yeah.
never had. I mean, we never had a particularly the current. If you look at the generations born after the baby boom, we never had a world war. There hasn't been any kind of towel of our government. I mean, we did see the towels, the World Trade Center towers go down. Um, but we haven't really seen like a huge shakeup of our monetary system where it actually negatively impacted us
Right.
um, on a large scale. But I will say that being more of a more melanated person, right, more Black people, we have been pushed out of the traditional financial system. And I was actually just talking to one of my friends about this. A lot of people that work in tech, and I'm like, it's crazy that it took Breonna Taylor and George Floyd for there to be more Black unicorns now. Like, I've actually know a lot of these founders who I've known them for a while. Now all of a sudden I can name like five, off one hand who are now running these Black unicorns, and it's beautiful, and it's just crazy to just now see that. So I think it's specifically for Black Americans or more melanated people, we need to actually at least look at blockchain and Bitcoin in particular, because we can't really there's no way for us to be pushed out of it. Like, if we are owning our own custody, we can literally own our own financial future and our own wealth. And to add to that, I have a really close friend who, and more I think about it, I want to introduce you to him. He's a blockchain purist. He's a Bitcoin purist. And he's from Senegal. And once I begin meeting more people from different countries, I have another friend from Jamaica. And we say that these countries are free, but they're really not free. Like the Jamaica is still paying tithes to the crown, to the Queen of England. If you look at West Africa or the countries that were colonized by France, they're essentially still being colonized because they don't print their own money. Their monetary policy comes directly from France. And so when I think about when I actually think about Bitcoin and just cryptocurrency and blockchain in general, I think those countries where their monetary system has been stripped away from them and they've been forced to just be consumers, I think that's where the biggest opportunity lies, right? Like Africa has the youngest population on earth, right? Excuse me, but I think that's when I really start having these conversations with people across the globe that I know. And that's also like the frustrating part I would say about blockchain, which I'm really careful about, is that I remember during the ICO boom, these different projects would come out. They say they want to change the world, they want to make the world better. But when you look at who's on the cap table, it's primarily their inner circle. But
Right.
they're creating this blockchain and they're saying that they want to make they want to build a stronger financial system in Nigeria, and it's like, but you're not even there.
And nobody in
It
your
has to
team is
be
there.
right, and it has to be more than just airdropping your tokens. That's cool, that's a good start, but how are you really integrating and actually allowing them to flourish? Like, I actually think that instead of Western world creating these different blockchains, I think we need to empower these different communities across the globe to create their own blockchains. And then, obviously build in a layer of interoperability between like Ethereum or whatever that dominant chain is. I think Bitcoin in the future will run smart contracts. I think they're going to be the de facto contract platform once they figure out the fee structure. But yeah, so that, like, I see a lot of promise, but I'm very much so like a healthy realist about it. Like,
Definitely.
okay, like, so where do you see crypto going in the next 20 years? What is obviously DeFi, but where do you see crypto at the next 20 years from now?
Yeah. Like you were saying, that when we look at some of the on-chain data, I think we're like Coinbase just had their like their report, right, for their, what was it, Q2 or Q2 report that came out, and they went from like they got up to like 68 million active users, right? So that's a lot of a lot of users that actively use Coinbase. It's probably the most popular. SpaceX said that they were a user of Coinbase. So like SpaceX, the company, buys their Bitcoin from Coinbase, right? So if you take some of those things that are happening right now in that space, and then we add 20 years to it, let's say in 5 years, if SpaceX is already doing it, let's say maybe in 5 years, Amazon or Apple starts doing it, right? So that would be a huge thing. Okay, so now we go another 5 years. So in 10 years, if Amazon, Apple, or a company similar to those joins, then you can expect most of their user base to come along board, right? So obviously we know how big the Apple user base is, as well as Amazon, as well as Microsoft, as well as Google. So if we can have any of those big companies announce that they're going to be holding Bitcoin, similar to the way SpaceX and Tesla are currently, then and again, this is for the first like 5 to 10 years from today. I think that coupled with gaming, which I know is kind of, for someone like me and you, maybe gaming is not on the top of our list when it comes to things that people do on the blockchain. But
Yeah,
as I'm sure both of us know, gaming industry revenue brings in more revenue than music and movies combined.
I
So
didn't know that, but
yeah,
there's a strong correlation between developers and gamers too. So yeah,
exactly. So I actually, the only video game I really liked playing was NBA 2K and Call of Duty. I would play those every now and then, but it wasn't like a everyday type of thing. Um,
right.
so I wasn't into playing video games on the blockchain or even playing video games on my computer. But when we're talking about in the next 20 years how I think the mass adoption is going to happen, within the next 5 to 10 years, we get a company like Amazon, Apple, Google, like that, to start holding Bitcoin. Once that happens, most of their users, because once they hold it, they're invested in it, meaning they want it to long-term succeed. So their users start to use it because they introduce it to their platforms like Amazon accepting crypto or something like that. So that'll grow
Right.
that user base. And then I didn't realize until I started using Discord more, but the gaming industry inside the blockchain is actually extremely large. There's a lot of, and I still don't play the games too much, but I like to keep up with them because there's a few different play to earn games that are out right now. Zed Run has been out for a while. It's a really popular play to earn game. And it involves like raising horses, and these are all digital assets for the people that don't know. And then also there's a game called Axie Infinity, which is another play to earn game, which in the Philippines has taken over. And there's actually people quitting their jobs in the Philippines to only play this game because the way it translated breaks down to about like 25 to 30 US dollars per day, which is higher than what they normally would get at their full paying job.
Yeah.
So these are industries that are going to onboard people rapidly, right? So if we think about the next 20 years, and some of that stuff is happening right now, right? Like I'm sure that Amazon, Google, and Apple have all talked about holding Bitcoin, even if they don't currently hold it. And I know for a fact that like that Philippines stat I just gave out, like I know for a fact people are using gaming as a play to earn model to literally supplement some of their income. So with those two being said, in 20 years from now, like I believe, we'll really have mainstream adoption. You can't
Yeah.
stifle that type of technology. As other nations start accepting it, it'll become harder and harder for people to kind of turn it down. So, America runs like a business, and if you're the CEO of the business, it's gonna keep going. So the only thing I'm worried about, again, this is more current news, but the infrastructure bill, we don't got to really touch on that. But just I'm more so worried about the American government being too afraid of innovation and trying to stifle it by putting in laws and implementing things that they don't quite understand. So as long as that
Yeah.
doesn't happen and the CBDCs kind of chill out with whatever they got going on, then I think to the moon.